So I had a question sent through my Instagram DMs yesterday, and this was talking about mouth breathing in Pilates. And today I wanted to have a discussion around mouth breathing, carbon dioxide, hypocapnia, and when should we use nasal breathing, mouth breathing, and kind of run my thoughts on this, because many people who have read the books, James Nestor, Oxygen Advantage, Patrick McEwen, demonize mouth breathing now. And what we have to kind of consider here is the difference between using the mouth to breathe and being a chronic mouth breather. So this question that I received was from a physiotherapist who's trained in Oxygen Advantage, Buteyko, and also is a trained Pilates instructor. And they sent me a few messages and information from the company that they trained in Pilates with, and on their website they were talking and mentioning about breathing through the nose and breathing out the mouth. And one of the actual comments on there was that we should use the mouth to breathe out the mouth because it's a larger surface area and we can blow off the waste gases of carbon dioxide. Which, yes, that is a myth, we could say, is we don't need to expel as much carbon dioxide, particularly when we're doing exercise that is low intensity, and therefore we can potentially breathe through the nose. However, there was another part of it that then was talking about mouth breathing and completely exhaling all the way out. And this was related to engaging the core. So we have to remember, what are we trying to achieve and what are they trying to achieve in Pilates? Now, I'm no Pilates instructor and I'm not going to claim to be one, but I believe Pilates, and please correct me if I'm wrong in the comments about this, is to do with obviously core engagement and to improve core whilst doing exercises that help with stability. And if I'm honest with you, I think using the mouth in this situation to exhale all the way out is going to engage our core. So we need the core muscles for exhalation when so there's a large group of school kids walking by. So we need to activate our core muscles when we want to start to engage in active exhale, and therefore actually using a forceful exhale is a form of core training. So I think that if we're in something like a Pilates and we are looking to further enhance our engagement of the core in specific exercises, then fully exhaling all the way out during that is probably going to add additional stimulus to what we're trying to achieve. So therefore the context there for me is like a specificity context, although I don't think that is really considered in this case of the Pilates stuff, although it's going to support the role of improving core engagement. Now I want to go back to just mouth breathing in general. Hypocapnia. The likeliness that someone is going to go hypocapnic if they are not on a run, if they're doing something like yoga, or if they're doing something like Pilates, and they tend to breathe through their mouth from time to time, or even if they breathe through their mouth throughout the exercise. That doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to go into a state where their CO2 levels are going to drop to a state where they're going to be hypocapnic, and that's going to lead to vasoconstriction of blood vessels in the brain, vasoconstriction of blood vessels in the peripherals and the muscles, like it might suggest in the books or in the Buteyko method. That's just not the case. Mouth breathing does not mean hypocapnic. What nasal breathing means is it means a relatively higher level of CO2 compared to mouth breathing. what we have to remember is that the natural reflexes of our breathing in our chemoreceptors, when we're not paying attention to our breathing, are driving our rate and rhythm in an attempt to match that CO2 level. Now only, and I say only, will hypocapnia occur if the person has dysfunctional breathing. In fact, that's the definition of dysfunctional breathing. Dysfunctional breathing isn't just chest breathing. It's not just mouth breathing. It's breathing in a way where it's not meeting our metabolic demands. And we can only really measure that via measuring capnography. So looking at CO2 levels or getting arterial blood gases. We can suspect if someone is, and we look at their intensity of exercise, and we can kind of look at people and go, it seems as though your breathing is mismatched. And we make speculations around that. But we can never really truly say that someone is breathing dysfunctionally unless we're measuring. Now, can there be improvements made here? Of course. Am I saying that mouth breathing in Pilates is the ideal way? No. Of course people are going to get a benefit if they try to breathe in through the nose and out through the nose. There's going to be the element of adding, additional challenge and stimulus and breath control to the exercise. Do I get concerned that people might breathe in through the nose and out through the mouth? No, not necessarily. I don't think that's too much of a problem. I think what we need to remember here is that there's a difference between using the mouth and being a chronic mouth breather. James Nestor's book, Breath, Patrick McEwen's book, Oxygen Advantage, and the Biteko method consider people who are chronic mouth breathers, people who are sick and are sick as a result of being chronic mouth breathers. This is a habitual learning that has occurred from a young age, probably through behavior of their following their parents, or poor habits that have occurred. And these people are individuals who jaw is set back, they have snoring, they have learning issues, they have behavioral issues, they look tired, and they've got dark underneath their eyes. They are habitual mouth breathers, and they walk around like this seems to happen with old age as well, and it seems to happen when people do get sick. So in that case, we start to see then people close their mouth and breathe through the nose. In fact, we start to see improvements in their breathing. They start to improve their ability to go for longer walks, they increase their exercise capacity, they might feel less breathless eventually once they've kind of adapted to breathing through the nose. And then in the other case, it's at the high end of exercise when we have high levels of ventilation. So right now I'm going for a walk, yes, at a steady pace. I'm walking, I'm talking, which means that I'm getting a little bit breathless, trying to catch my breath between the sentences because I've been walking and talking for 9 minutes straight. But if I was to walk and keep my mouth closed, I can breathe through my nose quite easily because the level of intensity is quite low. The level of CO2 that I'm producing is quite low. But the main factor is not CO2, it's the arousal. It's what my brain perceives my body is experiencing and going through in totality of the physical effort, the perception of the physical effort, and the perception of my breathing. Now, if you were to go on a bike and you were to do repeated sprints, what are you challenged by more? The fatigue in your legs or your breath? Now, be honest with that, because I guarantee that 90% of people are more challenged by the acid buildup in their legs The pain that's associated with that is what prevents people from exercising. Well, guess what? That pain that you experience, that feeling of fatigue that you experience, drives respiration from a standpoint of arousal more than CO2 does once we start getting into high intensity. Now, if we keep our mouth closed and do that, what have we done? We've added additional stimulus. We've added additional sensations of air hunger, and therefore we've added additional emotion, high level arousal affect, which challenges our respiration even more. But because we commit to keeping our mouth closed, if we're able to stay calm, if we're able to regulate ourselves, if we're able to relax into it, then the brain starts to perceive this arousal that's built up in our body as less threatening. It changes the way that it associates the sensations with stress, and it reduces that. And therefore we start to feel less air hunger. We start to breathe a little bit slower. More parasympathetic activity comes on in our system. Sympathetic activity reduces. We adapt emotionally. So I kind of want to just finalize here and conclude here that mouth breathing isn't the devil. Chronic mouth breathing is something that's associated with illness and poor habit. And we have to distinguish between using the mouth to breathe and, let's say, going for a run and just breathing through the mouth versus all day breathing through the mouth, all night breathing through the mouth. Because there is a complete difference there. And that's where I think in the breath space we need to really consider, what is the actual problem? Is it breathing through the mouth, or is it the habit of continually breathing through the mouth? Let me know your thoughts below. What do you think?